You know it's kind of rude. Your baby finally takes a glorious long nap, and instead of feeling joy, you feel panic. Like, is this nap about to destroy my night? Because the internet has you believing daytime sleep is basically a personal attack on bedtime. Hi, I'm Treasure, and I help exhausted working parents get out of the overthinking spiral and into a sleep plan that actually fits real life and your baby's real wiring. And let me say this clearly right up front. Capping naps is not a rule. It's a tool. And if you use the tool for the wrong problem, it does not fix the problem, it just creates a new one. Let's start with what's really driving this. Your baby's sleep is built on two forces working together all day long: sleep pressure and their internal body clock. Sleep pressure is the sleepy tank filling up the longer they're awake. Their body clock is the rhythm that helps bedtime feel natural when timing is right. So when parents ask, is my baby sleeping too much during the day? What they usually mean is, why are nights suddenly messy? And I just want you to breathe for a second. You're not failing. You're overwhelmed by noise and you're trying to protect your nights like your career depends on it, which honestly, it might. By the way, download my free guide, The Modern Parent Sleep Roadmap, the guide I wish I had at 2 in the morning, and the link is in the video description and on the screen. Now let's clear up the biggest myth in this whole conversation. The myth is that more daytime sleep automatically causes worse night sleep. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does the exact opposite. Because the real issue is usually not too much sleep, it's where the sleep landed on the clock and what it did to bedtime. There are a few common patterns that create this exact problem. One pattern is the late nap that steals bedtime. This is the classic scenario where the last nap runs long, ends late, and suddenly bedtime feels like you're trying to put a fully caffeinated adult into a crib. Your baby is not being stubborn. They are simply not tired enough yet to fall asleep easily. And when you try to force bedtime anyway, you often get bedtime battles, false starts, or those wide awake party wake-ups in the middle of the night. Another pattern is the long nap that resets the day. Some babies take one very long nap and then need more awake time before the next sleep. Bedtime slides later and later, and then you get trapped in that horrible loop where bedtime is late, but your morning still starts early because your life starts early. That is not a character flaw, that is math. And then there's the pattern no one talks about enough. Some babies have lower sleep needs. They are perfectly healthy, perfectly bright, and they simply do not require as much total sleep as the sleep chart on the internet claims they do. So you can have a baby who naps beautifully and still has night trouble, not because naps are bad, but because the overall schedule is asking for more sleep than their body is ready to give. Now let's talk about the other side, because this is where parents get burned. Capping naps can absolutely backfire. If your baby is already running on fumes, capping naps often leads to overtired nights, not better nights. And overtired does not look like sleepiness. Overtired looks like a second wind. Overtired looks like a baby who is frantic, clingy, wired, rubbing eyes but fighting sleep like it is their job. Overtired looks like more night waking, more early morning waking, and a bedtime that somehow takes longer even though they are exhausted. So if you have been capping naps because you were scared of too much daytime sleep and nights got worse, you are not crazy. You just used the right tool at the wrong moment. Let me show you the smallest changes that make the biggest difference. Instead of asking, should I cap naps? I want you to ask one calmer question. Is this nap protecting bedtime or pushing bedtime? That's it. If your baby is sleeping in a way that consistently pushes bedtime later and later, and bedtime has become a battle, then yes, capping can be helpful. If your baby is sleeping in a way that protects bedtime and you are still having night issues, then naps are probably not the enemy. Here's what capping usually looks like when it truly helps. It is most often about the last nap of the day. Not every nap, not all sleep, Just protecting that runway into bedtime so your baby can wind down and fall asleep without you doing an entire theatrical production. If the last nap is ending too late to allow a smooth bedtime, you gently wake your baby, brighten the room, keep it calm, and move on with the day. No guilt, no drama. You're not being mean. You're protecting the night. And if you are dealing with daycare naps, this gets even more real. Because you are not in control of the nap schedule. You cannot perfectly shape the day. So your job becomes protecting the anchors you can control, especially a realistic bedtime and a consistent morning start. Sometimes that means a shorter cat nap after daycare to take the edge off, followed by an earlier bedtime. Sometimes it means skipping that late nap entirely and doing a much earlier bedtime because your baby is already done. And yes, it can feel unfair because you want to see your baby after work. You are not wrong for that. We just want your baby to sleep, and we want you to sleep, and we want your evenings to stop feeling like punishment. Now, quick note, for babies who are sensory sensitive or easily dysregulated, some babies truly use daytime sleep to regulate their nervous system. So aggressive capping can create more meltdowns and more night waking because they lost the recovery time their body needed. In those cases, we still protect bedtime, but we do it with a lighter touch and more attention to soothing routines and transition. Okay, here's the moment that saves you from endless guessing. There is one question that tells you fast whether capping is likely to help or hurt. And it is not the question the internet is yelling at you. And here's when I'd stop guessing and get extra support. If you've been tweaking naps, tweaking bedtime, adjusting everything by instinct, and you still feel like every day is a new experiment, that's a sign you need a real plan, not more tips. I'm a master's in social work, a certified pediatric sleep consultant, and the CEO of Rested and Renewed Pediatric Sleep Consulting. And as a toddler mom, I fully understand how personal and exhausting sleep can get. If you want someone to look at your baby, your schedule, your daycare reality, and your values, and build a plan that finally makes sense, you can book a consultation with me through Rested and Renewed. And if you are not ready to book, start with my free roadmap and use it to get your bearings. Now the question: when your baby naps longer, do nights get easier or harder? If longer naps consistently lead to bedtime battles, long middle of the night hangouts, or a bedtime that keeps drifting later, that is a strong sign your baby is undertired at bedtime. Capping, especially the late nap, often helps. If longer naps consistently lead to a calmer baby, an easier bedtime, and fewer night wakings, that is a strong sign your baby actually needed the sleep. Capping is likely to backfire. And if you are thinking, Treasure, nights are already awful no matter what naps do, then the answer is usually not nap length. It is usually schedule timing, sleep onset support, or an overtired and undertired swing that keeps repeating. So here's the simplest way to approach this without turning your whole life into a spreadsheet. If your baby is waking very early in the morning, melting down by late afternoon, and bedtime is chaotic, your baby is probably not getting enough restorative sleep overall. In that case, the goal is usually protecting naps, not shrinking them. If your baby is happy, alert, bedtime is late and fighty, and you are dealing with those long middle of the night awake periods, your baby may be getting too much daytime sleep for their current sleep needs, or the naps are landing too late. In that case, the goal is usually protecting bedtime by capping that late sleep. And I want to say something that might be emotionally relieving. You do not have to choose between too much daytime sleep and too little daytime sleep like it is a moral decision. The goal is balanced sleep. A day that supports a night that supports a day. Now, a quick safety and health note, because this matters. If your baby is suddenly sleeping far more than usual and seems unusually hard to wake, not feeding well, having fewer wet diapers, running a fever, or you just feel that gut level worry that something is off, call your pediatrician. Also talk to your pediatrician if you notice loud snoring, gasping, pauses in breathing, or consistently labored breathing in sleep. And if you are months into this cycle of broken nights and you feel like you are not functioning at work, not functioning at home, and you are snapping at people you love, that is not you being weak. That is sleep deprivation. You deserve support. If this already made you feel a little calmer about what to do with that next nap, the next video is where your whole schedule starts to feel less random and more predictable, so you can stop guessing and finally feel like you are driving the day instead of surviving it. Tap the screen to watch my next video.
Before you go, download Treasure's free guide, hit subscribe, and watch the next one. You'll be so glad you did.